Hello everyone. Hi, this is Rahul. I'm Filmi Baniya, and I'm recording this episode of Scholarly with our in-resident expert on movie cinema anthropology vis-a-vis cinema, how we as a society, as a race, are adopting to content around us. Professor MK Raghavendra is here with us from Bangalore. And guys, first of all, apologies of uploading this Scholarly episode after many weeks. I'd been stuck up with a lot of work-related engagements, and I've been part of this new entrepreneurial organization for which I'm also helping out in the learning of that. So big apologies to our regular subscribers. And this episode is actually compelled because I was thinking something inspirational should come on the way, and then possibly I can pick on the brains of Raghavendra sir from Bangalore. And MK Raghavendra sir, to the uninitiated, is one of India's most well-known film and cinema authors as well as researchers. He has written close to a dozen books published by legendary publishers like Routledge, Oxford University Press on different aspects of cinema, how cinema is composed as a language, how cinema is imbibed by consumers, and how it has evolved in content over the past few years. So today, the topic is very interesting. What we're going to talk about is essentially why Bollywood and Indian film industry is going through this massive avalanche of flops. We are looking at roughly around this year alone, when as we are now hopefully in the post-pandemic world, for last 6 to 7 months we are seeing a trend wherein number of Hindi films and maybe some other regional films are biting the dust. Just to let's put the whole perspective on this, let me give you a few names. Last 2 weeks, Ram Setu, thank God, both built as mega projects, built with the biggest actors, flopped miserably, losing close to 200 crores in the process, losses. Plus, we looked upon Samrat Prithviraj. We were looking at Lal Singh Chadda, Radhe Shyam, then Dhakad. Then we were looking at Shamshera. And even after that, the so-called big hit of Bollywood, which is Brahmastra, which according to me is an ultra-rotten film. But ultra-rotten film, possibly the worst film I've ever seen, was hailed as this big hit of Bollywood, which has broken all records. And we have reached a stage, guys, wherein, we are not told about the movie, but as in the north and west part of India, people are more interested rather than the content about the budget of the film. So Brahmastra, we knew nothing about the story, what it is. And I'll talk about the movie if MK sir allows me later in this discussion and tell you how legendary, pathetic this whole endeavor has been. And this comes from my sensibility of doing years and years of research on superheroes, interacting with people who have built these kind of franchises. But today, Raghavendra sir is going to talk about why Indian cinema is going through this churn wherein big movies are not finding audiences. The post-pandemic audience is very different than that was from the pre-pandemic audience. So MK sir, just guide us through what are the social, anthropological, and even industry-related reasons that why films are not getting audience in the theaters. Over to you, MK sir.
See, we're talking about Bollywood, right? Talking about Bollywood first.
Bollywood and some part of regional cinema as well.
Yeah, possibly. But I'll see my basic thing about Bollywood is two things. Okay, first, gradually Bollywood. See, there are no stars in Bollywood anymore. People have lost interest. We've seen all of them been in decline, except Salman Khan. Also now he's all probably in decline as well. What has happened is, last 3-4 years, none of them has had a hit. Amir Khan is not a Amir Khan. It's Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, they've all been in some kind of they've not had hits, but they've been going along with their collecting monies on the past of that thing. And gradually, what has happened is, I mean, this is the obvious trivial explanation. Gradually, they've come to the conclusion that people are going to the movies to see them, right? You can't have 50% of the cost of the movie being used up by the film star. What exactly are these people bringing to the screen at all? What attractions are they bringing to the screen? We can't watch these people. They're all over the hill. Okay, there are stories. They've run out of stories. See, that I think is a crucial thing. What has happened is that when what are the kinds of stories? Let us look at the kind of stories that Bollywood is generally, put out. These stories are all related in some way to certain expectations, socio-political expectations in the public space, what is likely to happen. And I'll tell you, until about 10 years ago, say about 8 years ago, 8 years ago, what was likely the future, likely of a future of India was always in some kind of doubt, in the sense, what way is it going to go, right? Okay. We didn't know which way it was going to go. So for example, let us take the last thing, right? When you take, say, let's take the 90s. 90s was very crucial. Okay. The more uncertainty in 90s, we didn't know what way it was going to go. 91, 92, you had the economic liberalization, right? You didn't know which way India would go after economic liberalization. So several stories that, if you take the kind of stories which went about in the 1990s, right? You found on one level, you had this hum aapke hain kaun kind of thing, wealth being generated, the poor becoming servants of the rich. You had that one story. Okay. That continued in several things, like I think Mohabbatein, many of these stories were the same kind. Then you have this thing of gangster thing, right? Satya, right? The gangster thing. The gangster thing is, once again, competition. Where is it going to go? Okay. If competition, this free competition is allowed, right? Free competition is allowed, would it become some kind of dog eat dog thing on the streets? That was one thing. The third thing is, if you give up internal conflict, okay, there's internal conflict between classes is no longer possible because the market decides everything, right? Then you have this thing of patriotism. So your only enemies are outside. Okay. So it's not really patriotism. Okay. But you decide that the only possible enemies are outside, then you have a border, right? Okay. So the question is, there were three different stories going along. There's always been 3 or 4, and the stars are usually on these, these stories. If you take, for example, immediately after independence, 1947, you had Dilip Kumar, the uncertainties of what lies ahead. He gives these, these method performances, what you call method performance, the existential thing.
What is
Babul,
followed as sorry to intervene, method acting.
Method acting, yeah, method acting. In fact,
So
I
you're
probably,
saying, so what you are
that's the
saying,
only time, yeah, Dilip Kumar's early performances in Babul, Andaz, okay, and Devdas, they're the only successful method acting which has gone on in India so far as Devdas. It was Dilip Kumar's early, and he gave that up very quickly, because that was there. India didn't know where it was going to go. It was completely open, right? So you're full of doubts. That is one thing. Then you've got thing of modernity, right? The second story is modernity. You've got Devanand. Okay, the modernity means crookedness in Bazi, right? Criminality, selling black market tickets, this kind of stuff Devanand was doing. Then you have this thing of socialism, Nehruvian socialism, with Raj Kapoor, with his, with his egalitarian 3-4-20, with the Avara, this kind of stuff, right? So always there have been 3 or 4, see, this uncertainty. But what has happened is, after 2014, okay, with the Hindu right wing getting hold of in fact, there is no uncertainty in politics, right? Okay. So no, and then the kind of narratives which are going along, the kind of narratives.
just to intervene and trying to decipher for our audience, what MK sir is saying, that is, post the BJP government, and I'm apolitical and I'm not taking any sides.
So am I. Yeah.
So what Mr. Raghavendra is saying is, post 2014, there is no uncertainty in power. There is no uncertainty and there is no competition as such. So we have like this big one powerful party leader leading the country, and that is one of the anthropological reasons why films have now changed.
Yeah, there is no. And so the question is,
sir, can you identify how has that changed for our audience?
In the films, for example, the only things which there was only one narrative now. It's patriotic narrative, right? Okay. That patriot, you go look at Razi, or you look at what do you say, or it's either patriotic or it has to be Hindu-Muslim historical thing, right? Samrat Prithviraj, right? Okay. And that earlier one, Padmavat, it's also patriotic films of some sort, Hindu patriotism of some sort. Okay. Now the question is, you can't go on and on and on with this kind of stuff, right? You can't have one story. Basically, it's the same story. India versus Pakistan. Okay, and you have this Kashmir Files is also not a humanistic film at all. It's India versus Pakistan. That's basically it.
Right? Kashmir Files is success. Like, it has It is possibly the biggest hit of the year.
Correct. It is. But the point is, it will work for some time. It will work on occasion. But the point is, gradually people lose interest in this. Kashmir Files was done as a kind of humanistic thing about the Kashmir Pandits. It's fine. I accept that. The point is, it's fine. But the point is, they did it as a patriotic film. Somehow it goes the patriotic direction, right? Now, if you look, so the question is gradually running out of stories, and they don't know what the stories are. Okay, they come up with vague ideas. Actually, the people haven't figured out at all. Okay, if they haven't figured out, what exactly makes a hit, nobody knows. Okay, they've not.
Can you give an example of a film with a vague idea recently from Bollywood?
This Oh God itself seems to be complete nonsense. I don't know why. I've not seen it.
Thank God.
Thank God. Okay. It's the same thing, you know. I mean, what is the other thing? No, okay, they seem to be completely without any direction, any kind of thing. Brahmastra, I've tried to. I'm not going to see these movies. I've actually looked at it. I can't figure out what that movie is about. Okay, what exactly is the thing? What exactly is the idea? They think that you bring in an actor and you bring in an actress, you put them there. Automatically, the people are going to pay money to look at them. And you know, I'll tell you. You know, this 6-pack, 8-pack thing, no, which all these people are, you know, what they're cultivating, no. Now the point is, let's take. I'll give you. I mean, I wondered about this. Okay, why is it that Brad Pitt doesn't cultivate this? He's muscular, but he doesn't have this, you know, this exercised body. He doesn't have that kind of body. He's got a tough body. Okay, but he doesn't have this the exercised body. Schwarzenegger and Stallone were only good for certain kinds of roles. They can't be used as romantic heroes, right? You can't have Schwarzenegger as a romantic hero. You can't have Stallone as a romantic hero. Here, even romantic heroes build up their bodies like that, right? So gradually, it would seem that there's confusion with whether we are looking at the character in a movie or at the actor, right? Now, gradually, because of this building up of the actor through this body exercising and all this, gradually attention is gradually shifting to the actor rather than the character. We're not watching stories. Okay, we're not watching stories at all. We're gradually watching, okay, actors in various turns. So when Shah Rukh Khan comes and does something, we're basically watching Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, up to a particular once upon a time, Shah Rukh Khan in Om Shanti Om. It's very amusing. He could do that. He could hold your attention. I don't think that works anymore. The Om Shanti Om thing, it doesn't work anymore. Nobody wants to see these people anymore. Okay, and if they take up so much money, so much time, so much thing about this, it's not going to work.
Let me make an observation here. What you are trying to say. So, friends, what MK sir is trying to put forward is that we are not seeing any new faces or new talents at the centerpiece or as the centerpiece of storytelling in commercial Hindi cinema. That's the whole point. Yeah. Like there is a lack of faces. There some here and there, but sir, just to give an example, like there is this new movie coming up in January called Pathan, which is Shah Rukh Khan's film with his 6-pack, 8-pack abs, or whatever that rubbish is. Now I saw that movie's trailer. I mean, you know, at times I feel that they also get their logics wrong. So Pathan is the fact that he's the most patriotic guy in the world. So he's Pathan, but he's a Muslim. So now what I see is that Shah Rukh Khan has made really rotten films in the last 10 years. Now he's an exemplar when it comes to industry, networking and making money. That's a different equation. What I've seen is actors in India, when you look at Shah Rukh Khan as a template, they just don't do acting. So I can say if you go to Hollywood, you'll find actors like even Brad Pitt, they have their own production houses. Like he has a company called Plan B, which produces a lot of films and some Oscar-winning films as well. But then he doesn't get into these multiple joint ventures of 100 other industries. He doesn't own a sports league. Then, you know, he's literally hogging the budgets of Netflix for India. Like Shah Rukh Khan's company, Red Chillies, has been, by various media reports, it was showed that it has really, you know, cornered most of Netflix's original India budgets. They would produce shows like this horrendous show called Betal. A lot of this, you know, stuff they are doing, and they are just cornering resources. So what I've seen is that rather than creating a larger pie out of which a lot can eat, most of these so-called Bollywood legends are cornering resources. So they want a bigger share of the pie, but the pie size remains the same.
It's getting smaller actually.
But well,
Yeah.
so just to give a little 101 from my little bit of expertise in business, whatever I've learned in the last 22 years of running businesses and all, is that the problem is that Bollywood's entire game of this 100 crore, 200 crore, 300 crore, 400 crores, come on, let's try to convert it into some dollars. So this would be roughly around, big game would be 70, 80 million dollars, like a mega blockbuster. $80 million would be how much? 600, 650 crores, right? The point is that in India, the financial victory or the financial prowess of how the film performs actually now plays an integral part in how it will play out on the box office and how it will be perceived by people. So people, especially in the North and West India, where most of Bollywood is that, okay, this movie has made 100 crores, there must be something about that movie, let's go and see. Because this is where I feel we are really regressive, and we are not even third world, we are fourth world country. When you keep saying this is a $80 million, $40 million, $50 million movie, now you have to deliver that budget. Rather than that budget say, this is our big movie, it has a big vision. If somebody asks what is the budget, and then in Brahmastra case, MK sir, is really disturbing. First, they went hammer and tongs through their official and unofficial PR machinery, Dharma Productions, Fox, that this is a $100 million franchise. So there was a ridiculous name called Astraverse. I don't know what the hell does that mean, but it's supposed to be a copy of Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Marvel movies. They wanted to create their Indian this thing. So first they went to town telling that this is a big budget movie made at 600-700 crore rupees or $100 million, $80 million rupees. And then when the movie flopped in the first week, there is a big debate about how much money it has made. So now the lead actors are telling, the budget is 150 crores. It was not 600 crores. 600 crores was for the trilogy. So somewhere down the lane, what I feel is, MK sir, where you can shed some light, is that the narrative is no longer about content, no longer about content writing, delivery, vision, what it is. It's all about how much money it's being made. So I think that is where this financial transaction has now come between the viewer and the actor.
That's true, yeah. No, my own thing I see, basically the actor, okay. See, the actor is not just there to play a role, right? He has to narrativize certain concerns. Okay. Point is that this the star, the film star, has to play a certain kind of generic genre kind of thing, right? You have to, you look, when you talk about Devanand, when you talk about Rajesh Khanna, when you talk about all these people, right? When you talk about Amitabh Bachchan, they are in what do you say, in roles which have social relevance of some sort. When I say social relevance, they are in roles which are really basically to do with the message or whatever, the public discourse which is going on in the political space, right? Now that was there for the Shah Rukh Khan once upon a time. It is no longer there. It was there for a lot of these people. It is no longer there, right? So that's a big problem, right? No, so the question is, people are going to see film stars in roles which have some kind of relevance to people, right? For example, yeah.
So I think there is a very interesting talk given by Vivek Agnihotri, the director of Kashmir Files. He said till the late 1990s, the leading man of Bollywood films was the common man. So if you look at it, like Bachchan's roles, like iconic roles like Diwar, like Kala Patthar, or his real high quality stuff, when Kalia, all these movies for this proletarian, the guy who's trying to make his ends meet by working in mills here and there. And I really don't remember if anybody has seen the six-pack abs of Amitabh Bachchan anywhere.
Nobody has seen.
Nobody has seen.
Nobody
and
has seen.
Bachchan's expertise has always been this angry young man who purely by performance would convey his message.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with his muscles.
The muscles. But then the question again, which I just want to go back to this topic, that why there is no interest of audience now in cinema.
I'll say this, I think there's a big gap in Bollywood, right? Okay, which is being taken up by South Indian cinema. South Indian cinema, they're doing hugely well, right? All of them are doing very well. Now, if you look at South Indian cinema, let us look at one by one. Let us look at it. If you look at, for example, Bahubali onwards, it started, Bahubali has nothing to do with your, what do you say, with your, the kind of stories which are going on in Bollywood, right? It's a completely different kind of thing. It's the same thing with RRR. Now, RRR is supposed to be patriotic, right? It's actually to patriotism what Amar Akbar Anthony is to the masala film. It's some kind of parody, right? Okay. If you tell me that the British, these fellows outdance the British, okay. Indian heroes outdancing the British.
MK sir is talking about the Natu Natu song in,
exactly. I mean,
in RRR. This is
RRR, okay.
RRR.
It's actually parody. And that is why it's become a great thing with Western critics.
No,
it's
sir,
done well with American, with Western critics.
Sir, I've been literally following RRR's success in the US. Now, initially, I thought this movie was a little ridiculous. But what I saw was the way Americans are looking at this movie. They are finding the fact that it is 1980s Hollywood played again, what they're asking for again and again. Because apparently in Hollywood, whatever my friends who work there tell me, there is already a cynicism towards this Marvel type of films.
Yeah.
Flying around doing this, doing that. So they say, okay, we have seen this too many Iron Men and these Black Panthers running around here and there.
They're all very serious, by the way.
So why not look at Indians kicking bikes, throwing away leopards here and there, So they find, but then at the same time, I think one thing needs to be said, sir, about RRR. One thing which you have to give to Rajamouli, sir, and no other Indian director does it, that he creates these stunning visuals, on the big screen.
It's very engaging.
Like he builds this whole, and these visuals are not seen anywhere else because all his technology and his writing is essentially about Indian folklore. So he just sticks to the Indian folklore. So like there is the scene in RRR in which NTR Jr. comes out with these two, torches in his hands with around 100 animals out of cages coming out.
What are those animals? What have they got to do with what have they got to do with patriotism? I don't know. Are these lions patriotic? I don't know.
But as you said, sir, how do you view RRR as a cinematic achievement? What do you think?
I simply think that they're making a sort of generally having good laughter. It's basically a thing of laughter. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It is not meant to be. Even the British are played, comically. Okay. And this thing of, we will do tango. We will do something like this. Okay. The point is that, okay, all this stuff is basically self-mocking, at the same time parodic. There is no conviction in, it works because there's no conviction in the patriotism, right? Okay.
No, how can you say that? Because both of them are freedom fighters, aren't they?
No, the origin, those are used like brand names, that's all. I don't think there is Alluri Sitaram Raju and the other person are played seriously in the movie. They are not played seriously.
It's a parody according to you.
Yeah, it's parody. Look, in India, you don't have an actual parody. It works always on the edge, like Amar Akbar Anthony. Well, how many people take Amar Akbar Anthony seriously? I think a large number of people take it seriously, right? Okay. So in our patriotic thing, if they're conscious of that patriotism being misplaced, okay, it shows itself as on the edge in some way, right? So the South Indian cinema now, one of the films which I really liked recently, really enjoyed rather than liked, is Pushpa. I don't know if you've seen Pushpa. Okay.
I saw portions of it.
It's thoroughly entertaining. Okay, it's thoroughly entertaining. Yeah. Also, in some way, self-parody in some way. But it's not as much self-parody as this. But the point it works, it's thoroughly entertaining. And the strange thing is, it's anti-state. Okay. The criminal is the hero. Okay. It's the same thing with Kantara. Okay. The criminal is the hero. He's criminal. The initial fight, they've diverted it at the end, and finally you do something.
Just to tell our audience, MK sir is talking about the phenomenal success of South Indian cinema in the North. Sir, I'd just like to give a humble submission on how these numbers are turning out. Now, the way, so I feel a lot of the labor class in North India and West India, like the South Indian heroes. Now, I don't want to sound really sadist or, I really don't want to sound like a guy who lives in some other dimension. But the fact of the matter remains is that if you look at actors of the North, they're considered as the guy with the fair complexion. You know, the guy who looks like the Angrez, as they used to say. Now, what has happened is the proletarians who are essentially, the people who are working on the masses, who are the auto drivers, who would actually go and basically talk of the fact that they want a hero in their lives who they could connect with. So if you look at Allu Arjun, he looks like one of those guys, the way he has been positioned. And similarly, the budgets of these movies have been made for regional languages. We have been made for regional languages. Okay. And regional languages is basically, they are all, how do I say, basically made for a smaller geography rather than the whole India. So what I've seen is in the last few years that these movies have got one single distributor who will buy something, from them, like a guy in the. So I'll tell you. So there is a very funny story about KGF. Now KGF, which is a Kannada film, is now, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest grossing film of all times out of Bollywood. It's around 440 crores in just the North and West markets.
Really bad movie.
Well, that's a different discussion. But having said that, if you look at it now, these guys, so they say, okay, these larger than life Khans and these Kumars, they don't look like us. They are basically the elitist crowd. They are the ones who are seen 80 times a day in Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces. On the other hand, this Allu Arjun fellow, he looks like us. We don't know how many cars he owns because we don't consume any South Indian media in the North or South Indian gossip tabloids in the North. They must be living similarly. I'm not saying in today's day and age, they would be living better if I were to ask, because very few people know that Allu Arjun is the son of the famous Allu Arvind, the South Indian cinema, one of the biggest producers ever. And even now Kantara, which was a tiny little movie made at the cost of 15 crores, has gone on to gross close to 100 crores in Hindi. So we are talking about now South, because North is so starved of content. So it is like in Hindi, chal yaar, kuch to lekar aao, get something. Let's have something new. And to be honest with you, there is another reason I feel why. So I asked you, sir, what is the reason why people are not coming to the theaters? I think this is multiple options. So they can watch stuff on OTT, in cinema theaters, not in the cinema theater, OTT. And OTT means over the top television like Netflix, Amazon, your streaming services. So, sir, what do you think is going on? Why is there so much churn? Why are people not changing their habits so drastically that South becomes the biggest market for the North?
I'll tell you what is happening is, okay.
And South content becomes the big market for North Indian, West Indian audience.
I think people are losing interest in nationalist content. Okay. Nationalist, nation as a subject.
But sir, don't you think that's a little anti what you've just said? Because you said 2014, since the Modi government and the right wing and BJP came over, since then patriotism is the thing, like the nation state.
No, I know. No, what I mean is, see, the point is, it's one thing to be, patriotic. It's another thing to appreciate that as a subject matter of fiction, right? Okay. As a subject matter of fiction, it seems to be completely, I don't know. It doesn't seem to have any potential at all, right? Whereas all these movies, you go on and on. When you talk about history, let's take history, for instance, right? History, we only think in terms of Hindu-Muslim, right? Gradually, it's becoming everything. Your Bollywood will only see it as Hindu-Muslim. Isn't there any other history? Which is why our Mani Ratnam's PS1 or whatever, okay, PS1.
What's your view on PS1? It's another 300, 400 crore movie.
It's doing very well. Okay, I don't know how it's doing in North India. Okay, I wouldn't know how it's doing in North India. Not so much. It's actually telling the thing that we have our history of our own, right? It doesn't need a North Indian audience at all. It's got a South Indian audience is doing, I think, very well in South India. I don't like the movie at all. That's a different matter. Okay. But the point is this, that it is offering something else. It's offering the regional, it's offering the local. See, Kantara, for instance, is offering the local. Okay. He's not even playing the Indian card in any way, right? He's entirely local. He's talking about local issues, local God, local this, local thing. It's not even Hindu in the sense that Ram is Hindu, right? Okay. It's a local deity, okay, which is affiliated to Hinduism in some way. But you cannot equate this Panjurli, which is a tribal god, okay, with Ram that way. Okay. So even then you've got national gods, you've got local gods, you've got national politics, you've got local politics, you've got so the question is that gradually the stories are getting smaller. Okay. It's a good thing. The story is getting smaller. Okay. You're no longer talking in terms of, India versus Pakistan. How much, is there in India versus Pakistan? Can you go on making
Sir,
movies on this subject?
I think that's a very important point. What I've seen now is that what you are saying is absolutely right, because recently we had the release of this movie called Adipurush, which was made, it's like built as this 450 crore budget film starring the South hero Prabhas, the Bahubali. I really don't know what the hell has he done since Bahubali. He's made all trash content, and
Yeah.
he commands this thing. He becomes Lord Rama in Adipurush, which is supposed to be the modern day, not modern day, the modern rendition of the Ramayana. And it was such poor special effects in the teaser. It's the first time in history the teaser demolished the movie, because they
Okay.
showed Lord Rama and Sita and Lord Hanuman in such horrible costumes. In fact, Lord Ravana is not Lord Ravana. Ravana is looking upon as like a rap singer, according to some people, like Drake, because he has got shortcut hair. Then he's like looking more like a hip hop artist. Now, then there are these, facile imaginations.
It's a Hindi movie?
No, yeah, it's a Hindi movie.
It sounds like a colossal flop. It can't be a hit. I can't believe this.
Forget about flop. The teaser itself has created so much anger that Honorable Yogi Adityanath, the UP Chief Minister, was supposed to release the movie trailer. But the moment he saw the trailer, he said, "No, I'm not coming." It's so poorly done with such tiny imagination. And so they are saying, Ravana is, he's like on this big bat. And people said that he's Batman because the bat, he's riding the bat, Ravana. And it's really stupid and horrible casting, like Kriti Sanon, who's like I don't know how does she, what embodies. So what I'm trying to tell you, sir, is that actually nationalism is now being taken over by religious content.
And the point is that
Yes, so people want more religion rather than nationalism.
But even this, the fact that nobody wants this either, right? This is a colossal flop. It's not that easy that you dish it out in any form, it will be appreciated. No, it won't be. There are certain ways in which you can do it. You can do Mahabharata, you can do a section of Mahabharata, you do it with sincerity, you do it seriously, and you do it conventionally. Okay, it will succeed. But it has to be done, like for example, it has to be done with some faith. It can't be turned into some nonsense like this. Okay. I think there is a thing in religion. It's not that there is no likelihood of success in religion. The question is, you have to do it with some kind of respect also, and you have to do it. These people, it's not that they're disrespectful. They just run out of ideas, so it looks like disrespectful, right? I don't think they are. Yeah, it just looks like that. The point is, they have run out of ideas. Prabhas, can you imagine this?
As I can understand from what MK sir you're trying to say is that they're running out of ideas. They're running out of the shelf life of their stardom. And thirdly, you are saying that the emergence of the South gives them a very different alternative. So to be honest with you, the kind of reception what RRR has received in the US, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
They are now talking about Telugu cinema. Like I'm talking about at the center of their discussions. Now, when you say who is endorsing RRR, everybody who's a known critic on Rotten Tomatoes will tell you that it is possibly the best experience they have seen. Now, why it's going on? Because the traditional Indian export to the US in terms of films was these typical Bollywood films. Nobody knew what was South Indian cinema. Yeah. And then you have to remember that South Indian cinema is far more technically solid than North Indian cinema. Yeah. So even if you look at Kantara, which has minimum budget, but it's brilliantly shot. It's shot even like that buffalo race, which is there in the beginning with Rishabh Shetty and, where he's running around with the buffaloes. That whole thing is so intense. It creates excitement. It is something what a lot of people in India and North India haven't seen.
No, I'll tell you. So, for example, religion you're talking about. If you take, say, a certain, yeah, a certain section of the Mahabharata, okay, you the aesthetic, you look, you've got digital animation, right? You've got digital animation. Use the kind of aesthetic that you had in Ravi Verma's pictures, right? Okay. You use the kind of aesthetic through digital animation of the kind of aesthetic that Ravi Verma brought to his paintings, right? Okay.
Ravi Varman?
Ravi Verma.
Raja Ravi Varma.
Raja Ravi Verma. Okay, Raja Ravi Verma brought to his pictures. You do a bit of Mahabharata. Don't have big stars in it. Okay, you have the kind of stars that you had in the Mahabharata on television, right? But you do it a small section. Spend the kind of money that these people. I guarantee that will be a hit. Okay, but the question is, it should be done with faith. It should be done. You should not have these big stars playing these roles. You don't need big stars. They will go to the movie because of the content then. Okay, you take something, you take the story of something of the war, or you take some story of some the game of dice, something. It should have a happy ending. It should end in a happy ending. That's all. Okay, you have this, you have these Pandavas, you have this thing. Okay, take only a section of it. Don't do the whole thing. You can do this. You can take it around and do this sort of thing. Okay, do it sincerely. Do it with an aesthetic which is acceptable. Ravi Verma, just copy that aesthetic. It's possible in digital animation, right? It will be expensive, but not more so than the kind of stuff which is coming out now, right? I'm sure it will be a hit.
Well, I think there's also a score settling personal exercise while all these Bollywood actors start with their movies. Like, you will not release the movie when I will be releasing. Then, so they have to. And then, they keep forgetting this big golden law, which is that there are only 52 Fridays in a year, right? How much can you make? How many places? There's only one Diwali, one Eid every year. And there's also these reasons which are non-anthropological, which are very, very, purely macroeconomic reasons. If I were to say macroeconomic reason in economics means that any factors which you can't control, which are out of your control. So now, for example, pandemic, what it did was a lot of people went into soul searching. And now I'm talking about an interview which was recently, again, quoting Vivek Agnihotri here, I think he's a very good social commentator. I don't know how good movies he makes, but he has really identified one thing. He said when the second wave was there, hitting Delhi and different parts of the city of COVID, the second wave of COVID last year was so many people lost so many loved ones, is that here people were thinking, you know what, we are stuck here inside homes and having problems. And these Bollywood stars are showing off their videos in Maldives, in these super rich homes. Like nowadays, the content around Bollywood is that it's nothing to do with their cinema. It's largely about what they buy, what they wear.
Exactly, yeah.
And what kind of life, how amazing they are, what did they eat, all this stuff. It has become
most expensive things owned by, I keep getting on my mobile.
Yeah.
Most expensive things owned by Hrithik Roshan. I mean, who cares? Okay.
I think full responsibility should be taken by the media houses like Times of India, Times Internet, especially it's their pathetic websites like Men's XP, iDiva, all this rubbish which keeps just peddling this unnecessary information which is of no consequence to the viewer of the cinema. Yeah. So I'm fine if you are doing launches of the movie, their interviews regarding the cinema, it's perfectly fine. And once in a while, maybe around their birthday, you do some content, it's fine. Or some of their special days, maybe some brand association and ads are fine. So now what has happened is there is so much of exposure of these people in their, how do I say, in the not to do with their talent or their business actually. It is more about personal life, who is getting who, all that stuff. It has gone to such levels that people don't care. They say, okay, give us something which we don't know. We know so much about Akshay Kumar.
How much money you have, it's not going to come to me anyway.
Ram Setu, according to me, I just saw Ram Setu recently, MK sir, and Ram Setu is this new movie starring Akshay Kumar and has been made by a man called Abhishek Sharma. It's about the Setu Samudram project and how, a bunch of archaeologists go into the detailing of how is Ram Setu real or not. It's a good idea.
I know.
It's a good idea. It is something which has a lot of potential, a lot of interest, but now it's like it's been built like this modern Indiana Jones of India. Okay. It's a good idea, but it's Akshay Kumar. So people just don't want to see him. That whole movie has flopped only because of Akshay Kumar.
Sorry, nobody wants to see them, I think.
One man who hogged almost close to 50-70 crores, maybe 100-200 crores in this movie. 350 crores is the budget of Ram Setu. 300 crores. I mean, where is this money coming from? I just don't understand. What is the rationale? I operate in the startups and VC space. Here, even $100,000 is debated by investors where the money will go.
Yeah.
Nobody looks at these guys. They're lost credibility. Actually, that's another thing. So if you look at, if today you were to launch a Akshay Kumar branded sportswear line, right, or fitness line of clothes, nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
People will buy Michael Jordan. They feel there is more credibility there, or Virat Kohli. There is more credibility there. These Bollywood stars are like Naach Gana walas, like more like performers.
Yeah, and not even good performers.
Any thought process.
They're not watchable. I mean, I can't imagine paying my money to watch these people. Okay. And not only that, you see, it's all these heroes, right, who are actually the least interesting. A comedian doesn't do so well. Okay, other characters, like for example, a lot of these smaller actors are much more watchable. You take, for example, Irfan Khan was watchable. Siddiqui, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, again, he is generally...
Pankaj Tripathi is very good.
Pankaj Tripathi. What have Atul Kulkarni? Atul Kulkarni is eminently watchable. Okay. These people are much more star quality than these Akshay Kumar, all these people, right? You can't, I don't know.
Did you see Lal Singh Chadda, the Indian Forrest Gump?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to see it.
It's really horrible. It's like monumentally horrible. That movie has lost so much money. I mean, 200 crores has gone down the drain in that one movie. And then people keep asking, if they lose money, where all is the money coming from? And that is where I think they've lost the credibility. They just, for no reason, inflate the budgets. The budget is 10, they will say 100. This is how it is. So people have lost faith and trust that who are these guys? They keep scamming.
Where is the money coming
all the time.
from? Yeah. Where is the money coming from? Some real estate or something like that. It will come from there or something. We don't really
so
know.
They are not looked up upon. And then one of the critics I really follow is KRK, Kamal Rashid Khan. He's a little pompous used to be pompous as an individual, but now he makes so much sense when it comes to box office. He was saying in one of his episodes recently that the problem is that these guys always live the lifestyle of an Englishman or a Westerner. They live in abroad most of the time. They have these big homes all over the world. And then once they come back to Bombay, they act in a movie about an authentic Indian. So they are not able to talk that to the masses because they are totally born and brought up. Although that's a little personal jibe, but the fact of the matter remains is that they're not able to connect.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this, rather than connect, it's the fact that they've run out of stories. Like, I'll tell you, you look at James Stewart, you look at all these guys, you look at Devanand, you look at Shah Rukh Khan himself. They were filling roles which meant something to the people, right? These stories meant something. Okay, all of them had stories which meant something. Dharmendra was in stories which meant something. Amitabh Bachchan was in stories which meant something. Once the stories have disappeared, what are you playing actually? What exactly are you playing? You're not playing anything except yourself, right? Nobody finds you interesting enough. Nobody finds these people interesting enough in themselves. You've got to have stories.
Do you think this will continue, or will Bollywood finally wake up?
I think Bollywood is over. I think it's over. I think the good days are over. Okay. That I don't think they're going to, they don't have the capacity to reinvent themselves. Who is going to be on behalf of Bollywood? Who is going to run the thing? Who is going to talk about it? Who does any thinking about it? It's all, it's all hit or miss, right? And the question is, somebody has to, the critics can't be believed. Okay. Nobody looks at it deeply. Nobody looks at the thing. What could it be? What kind of stories could we go into? Some authenticity, go into some, some kind of stories which mean something. Get out of this entire thing of, playing to the gallery what you imagine the public want. Because the public vote for a certain political system doesn't mean that they're going to take stories. Huh?
What I've seen is that it has gone so poorly with audience that I think the biggest drawback of this entire year in the box office was this whole backlash, and it's actually justified against Brahmastra. Now, I don't know what have they done with it. It's a 9-year-old project, as they keep saying, and it just exposes this small little cozy club of people who are not exactly interested in telling good stories. They just want to scam investors.
Let me look at this 9-year-old story, right? It's complete nonsense to say 9 years, for the simple reason that taste will not remain stable for 9 years. You think you make Sholay today, it will be a hit, is it? No way. Sholay was okay in 1975. Okay. It is not going to work today. Okay. You can't do the same thing again. You can't do whatever special effects you do, you make a Sholay today, it will not be a hit. I tell you that, no. The point is, it has to come at a particular moment. You must catch the mood at that moment. You have you can't plan a Bollywood movies at 9 years in advance. Okay. It's not possible at all. There's no such a stable thing which you can go on planning for so many years. You have to do it and you must finish it in 6 months. That's it. Otherwise, it changes. Everything changes, right? I can't even believe this kind of story. 9 years in the planning. What are you planning in 9 years? Okay. Let's
It's all rotten thinking. And this guy, Ayan Mukherjee, is another stooge of this entire coterie. And I've never seen him. I mean, nowhere these guys have like any experience in comic books or any experience in building this kind of franchise. So if you look at Marvel, it comes with a captive audience of 70 to 80-year-old book publishing and comic book publishing.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds of stories written by hundreds of authors. It's having and building its credibility over 80 years. And these guys keep looking for shortcuts.
There's a brand there. There's a brand, well-known brand that people will buy this. Okay.
Then even if you look at Batman, which was released this year, and I was just trying to compare, I dared to compare Batman with, this rotten mess called Brahmastra. And what I've seen is like, never seen such a visuals, like Ranveer Kapoor is this guy who was the Brahmastra, apparently the holder. Brahmastra is the size of a cell phone. And apparently it's so cool that Brahmastra can be slid into his Levi's jeans pocket at the back. So whenever he wants to tote it, he takes the Brahmastra out and then he shows to the rest of the world.
What is it supposed to do? What does it do?
I really don't know. So at the end of the movie, they say the Prem is the Brahmastra. The love is the real Brahmastra. So I really don't know.
What nonsense is that?
And then, they keep showing these typical, special effects of 2001, 2002, X-Men, So there are mutants with certain powers in this. So I'll tell you, sir, the superhero films are very well known because they have origins in their heroes. Batman's origin is really interesting, where he comes from. That's So we really don't know where the hell these idiots come from. I don't know. It's like Amitabh Bachchan. There was one scene in which, so just think about it. I mean, I don't have to tell you, and that's where the intention of these filmmakers come out. So who they have got as the antithesis or the nemesis of this entire massive star cast, which are Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, Ranveer Kapoor, Nagarjuna. So who's the main villain here? Moni Roy.
Who?
Moni Roy.
Who is that? Not heard of this Moni.
So that's what I'm trying to tell you. So Moni Roy, I don't know for what anthropological reasons she has been hired as the chief villain of this entire unmitigated disaster. In one scene, she is flying, and in the other scene, she is tailing the hero in a lorry. So then the question becomes, can't she fly?
Okay.
And this is like across the whole movie, hundreds of instances like that. Then there is this scene in which Dimple Kapadia, whose name nobody knows in the movie, she's there. I don't know what it is. You have to go to IMDb to check their names, actually. That's another task. So I thought, like there is this big house where Amitabh Bachchan is the Guruji. Who's this Guruji? We don't know where the hell does this guy come from? Who's he? Really don't know. And then they have everybody is flying and toting these powers. And what have they got as their flying device, or sorry, the flying transport? It's a third-rate military-grade chopper of 1980s, which they are taking out. And then the point is that if you have to, like, if you look at X-Men, their own, as they call it, their hideout will have this planes which are beautifully designed. The ones even the Pushpak Viman would have been 100 times better if they showed it. And the best part is, like, these are all these gods. And this whole thing is happening, this unbundling of this world. There are some guys who have some other part. And then suddenly you realize that this movie has no story. It just happens to you. I mean, you go there and you suddenly realize, okay, what is the motivation? Where is the Brahmastra? So this is the best part. So it changes himself in becoming Shiva, the conqueror, the guy, the hero. And when he does that, he has his denims intact.
Okay.
He's wearing denims in his avatar. So the deal is that he must have got a fat check from Levi's or whichever denim brand he was endorsing. And this is where you see that this is the pompousness, the cacophony, the harakiri, the confidence, the surreal confidence.
Maybe they can.
Everybody in this world is a fool.
They may have they may have confused demons with denims.
Well, demons and denims, and the best part is he keeps. So there is no astra, there is no so there is no how to say optics. So if you go to the world of Thor in MCU, you have a palace where he sits. Here is the god of thunder with this. There is something in his hand like a hammer. But these jokers are moving around McDonald's and Domino's with their Brahmastra in the back pocket, and they're conquering the world. And then nobody can tell you why there is Alia Bhatt there in the movie. Just couldn't get, like, there is some reason they show.
Oh, it's a lack of imagination, obviously.
The best part is this DJ in Mumbai, right? Who's the superhero. So you would then say that what is the universe? So the universe is, there is no universe, because Brahmastra is love. So if emotion is your Brahmastra, then why build a world around it for an emotion? I mean, there is no device, there is no holy grail, there is no one place he has to go. So even from a fantasy point, it's a ultra rotten film. I would give Ramgarh ke Sholay, Ram Gopal Verma ki Aag, that movie is 100 times better than this. See, this is not what has happened, sir. Why people are not coming to cinemas? Because they feel how low can we go rather than how high we can get. Yeah. It is not about how low we can go. So I think Brahmastra loss is quite interesting. And Adipurush 450 crores, you should see the teaser, sir. It was so rotten that people said, "Hame teaser hi nahi dekhna." So just think about it. Movie hasn't released. Nothing has happened. The teaser trailer has ensured the demolition of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Just like to sum up our interaction with MK sir today. He has spoken about multiple points why Bollywood cinema is not working today. We are seeing anthropological reasons where he has talked about that post 2014 cinema, there is no opposition. And you have basically the thirst for nationalism, but nationalism is also losing its sheen. People are tilting more towards religion.
As narrative.
Narrative. Can you please rephrase that again for us?
I'll say this. See, the post 2017, expectations are reducing in the sense there are multiple expectations produces multiple stories, right? If I expect this to happen, it will produce one story. Simultaneously, some other person is expecting something else to happen that will produce another story, right? Now the question is,
expectations on a whole since 2017 are declining in India.
15, 16 are declining. So we don't know. In fact, it seems to be there's only one possibility, what is going to happen in India. So you can't, your imaginations won't work. There are no stories corresponding to these expectations because there are no expectations. We only know that the BJP is going to go along. It's going to whatever it's been doing for the past 5-6 years is going to continue. The only way you're going to do about it, okay, is to actually go local. Okay. When you say go local, it means you deal with, if you're a Bombay, Bollywood can probably deal with life in Bombay, issues in Bombay, issues in Gujarat, issues here. They can very well, if Kantara, which is made in some, coastal area of Karnataka, which nobody knows about, has done well in Hindi, why not a story set in some small town in Maharashtra or someplace in Orissa? Why not, I mean, all these are local stories, local things. Only question is you got to go about it in the proper way. You should have drama of some sort. You can do all this stuff, right? The question is you cannot make these national movies anymore. And finally, get rid of these stars. You don't need them at all. The important thing is that same money can go into special effects. It can go into design, right? Get designers. Get these people to design a kind of aesthetic. Get them to do this. Get them to design in a certain way. Not modernist, a traditional aesthetic of some sort, right? That is the only way.
So so basically what MK sir is saying, these are the multiple reasons why cinema is not picking up. I hope this happens and Bollywood gets its act together. And then not to mention the rise of Netflix and the 4G revolution has ensured that people can now watch content in their comfort of their homes on their mobile phones, sitting anywhere, wherever they want, anywhere in India, anywhere in the world. So that's another reason which also hit the industry. And then of course, rising rents for cinema theaters, the way the cost of running cinema is going up. Cinema used to provide so much of employment to so many people, which has got nothing to do with production houses. I'm talking about theaters, theater owners, distributors who have given lives and lives just to service this industry, and it's under a threat. So I think these entire discussions should continue, and I thank MK sir for giving us this very interesting perspective from anthropological as well as financial as well as the industry perspective of how this should work. And I think we have a few reasons now why people are not going: lack of stories, lack of good ideas, and this posturing and this cornering of resources by the so-called 60-year-old superstars. I think that is the reason why it has gone down. And thank you so much, MK sir. It is always a pleasure to talk to you.
Always,
and we will continue our discussion on scholarly. Filmi Baniya is back, everyone. We'll be recording more episodes soon. Please like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel and our channel on Facebook and Instagram. I'm the Filmi Baniya, Rahul Gupta. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you very much once again.